I've been trying to not ask what do you do for work as much. And I think it comes from watching more stuff on communication and like the likability from Vanessa Van Edwards, who's amazing with all the stuff what she does with the science of people. Because sometimes when you ask people at work, they might not like work. I think if you're at work, that's a fair thing you can ask about.
Turn this up, turn this up.
Your professional development is one of the keys to your career success. When you combine your desire to grow with actionable steps, your journey to success becomes an incredible reality.
Hi, I'm Paul Faronbi, aka IncrediPaul, and welcome to IncrediPaul Leadership, where we learn how to become the most incredible versions of ourselves by learning from each other. First off, if you're only listening to this episode, I want you to know that you can also watch it on YouTube, regardless if you're listening or watching the show, or kudos to doing both. Thank you so much for your support. Another way you can support me is by picking up the Be Incredible Starter Pack. It is super beneficial for you. Includes a leadership masterclass, resume and budget template, and interview guide so you can ace your next interview. Go to incredipaul.org/start to pick that up, and it will really help change the game and level up your leadership, your career, and your finances. So this episode, I want to talk about networking, specifically how to effectively network. I've been told a few different times that I am a professional networker. I like to think I'm a professional connector. I really like to connect with people on a deeper level, but a lot of friends have told me that I'm really good at networking. And I would like to say that that's not something that's always been the case for me. So shorter story for me into kind of a glimpse into my past for those maybe who are newer to the show, or I haven't talked about it in a while, but I used to be incredibly shy, like painfully shy, and painfully in the sense that oftentimes that if things were not going well or I needed something, I was shy to the extent that I wouldn't say anything because I didn't want to bother someone. And that was me growing up. As I grew up, I grew out of it just from being intentional about different things. I was put into different situations growing up that forced me to come out of my comfort zone or just be in the same place. And I guess before I was more intentional with my personal growth at IncrediPaul, I knew that I needed to work on some things. Background for me is that I was actually homeschooled from 2nd to 8th grade. In first grade, I went to a private Christian school that my church had. And then I was homeschooled from 2nd to 8th grade. I went to a public high school. And so these transitions from being especially from being homeschooled, which I will say that a lot of people think that homeschoolers don't have community. There's a lot of community in homeschoolers. There are a lot of stereotypes for homeschoolers. I don't think I meet any of those stereotypes. I definitely met the people that you would think are the stereotypical homeschoolers, but most homeschoolers are fairly normal and I think above average because of their ability to really be independent learners, kind of like teach themselves. You work with a parent, but a lot of it is self-motivated, self-driven. You don't have a lot of some of the competition that might come from being in school. So you really have to be internally motivated to do well. Sidetrack, but I was homeschooled for 2nd to 8th grade and went on to go to high school. So went to public high school, and that transition in itself, in order to be able to make friends and do things, I had to learn how to be a more effective learner, networker, I should say. And then from there, I grew up in St. Louis. I moved to Nebraska, family moved to Nebraska when I was a sophomore. Then again, had to learn to make friends. I will say I was not as good as it then either. I definitely did not want to move to Nebraska. And that first year was very rough on me, but I was able to meet a lot of cool people during that time that were actually befriending me and helped me come out of my comfort zone over the years of high school. And I'm sure like if there's any people from my high school that are watching or listening to this episode or any previous episodes, I am definitely way more extroverted now than I ever was in high school. I got progressively better, but then even in college, more so as I did a lot of stuff with different professional organizations. I helped to start a student organization. I went to conferences. I was on leadership team. All that to say is that it's been an evolution for me to grow in my networking skills. So it's funny, someone at work the other day told me, because along with the podcast, I still work full-time as an engineer. Someone told me the other day that you know everyone. It's like, how do you know everyone? And it's not necessarily that I know everyone, but I am really intentional with trying to introduce myself or talk to someone that I don't necessarily know in the moment. So how do you effectively network? As I dive more into this after that brief intro into me and that kind of my journey, is that be focused on the other person. A lot of times when people struggle with networking or don't know what to say with networking is because they're focusing on themselves way too much. And the thing is, the topic that everyone knows the best is themselves. You start to ask people about themselves and watch them open up. Here's the thing. Like you might say, okay, how do I even begin a conversation? Because I am talking to young professionals in STEM, and stereotypically, people in STEM are not the people who like to network very often. Obviously, there's a lot of social people in STEM, and even myself, I don't consider myself an extrovert. I might do a lot of extroverted things. I say I'm an introvert with extroverted tendencies, but I'm definitely an ambivert, so in the middle, and I can flex to be more introverted or extroverted, depending on the situations. So when I had moved to Nashville last year, definitely dove more into extroversion coming in, knowing I need to meet more people, make connections, all these things. And then over the last several months, been more introverted, and I think I'm leaning more into extroversion again. It goes back and forth. And I'm fairly self-aware, but like even with the self-awareness piece, I talked about it with someone on the show previously, is that you always have to check. It's not always something like, oh yeah, I'm self-aware. I always know what's going on. You have to check in with yourself to make sure that it's actually still true. So with that, talk about what they want to talk about. A key first question I often ask, whether it's someone I'm meeting at work or networking event, a conference, or just in passing, is, are you from around here? Did you grow up here? And that, what you can do with that question, it goes one of two ways. Either it's like, yes, they grew up here, and they can talk to you about where around town they're from, or what key things they like about the city from growing up, or how much has changed. One thing I always talk about, being in Nashville has changed a lot in the last 10 years, even more so in the last 20 years. So you talk to locals about that. But if they're from a different city, that gives you an opportunity to have a connection. So me being from St. Louis, I'm a Midwesterner, when I meet someone else from the Midwest, we can talk about those things. Or if they're from an area you don't know, and here's where you have to practice your active listening skills. If they're from somewhere that you don't know, you haven't been to, and maybe you've wanted to go in the past or in the future, then you can ask them questions about it, like, oh, how's it been like transitioning from here? Like, what caused you to transition? If it's a work thing, like maybe they transitioned for work. That was the reason why I moved to Nashville. It was for work related. That can even lead into a further question in asking, okay, what do you do for work? A lot of times, like when I at work, when meeting different people, well, I think one of the key first questions people ask what function you're in. I work in research and development. There's a lot of sub-departments within research and development, so even going deeper there. I will say, when I'm talking to people, unless it's like a professional setting, I've been trying to not ask what do you do for work as much. And I think it comes from watching more stuff on communication and like the likability from Vanessa Van Edwards, who's amazing with all the stuff what she does with the science of people. Because sometimes when you ask people at work, they might not like work. I think if you're at work, that's a fair thing you can ask about. But you can ask people about what they're excited about, what brings them passion, or what trips are coming up. I know I was meeting some people at an event last night for like a sneaker gala, and was talking about what trips that they had coming up that they're excited about. Maybe they don't have any trips, or maybe they want to go somewhere. So this just comes with practice, with just some key questions to ask, whether it's where they're from, what they do for work, which I really would only ask that question if they start to talk about work or what they're passionate about. I think those are key ways to network more effectively and just go with the conversation. I think sometimes if you are more introverted, I totally get it. It's hard sometimes to not know where the conversation is leading, but just go with it, have fun with it. Also, be more intentional about talking about yourself and what you do. Don't shrink back and only talk about the other person if they start to ask you stuff as well. It needs to feel like a conversation. If you're the only one asking questions, then it starts to feel like an interview, which is fine. If you're a podcaster like me, I have interviews, but even with that, I like when the guests are able to ask me questions and it becomes more of a conversation and less of an interview. So those are some key ways to get you started networking. And I want to talk about even why it's important to network. The key thing behind networking is that you want to make sure that people know who you are and what you do. And also you want to know what other people, who they are, what they do, because you never know how you can help someone. Because a lot of times when people talk about networking, they think about it from your perspective, which is great. Like you can get some key things, like key insights, but also look for ways that you can add value to the other person. So that's why I say that a lot of times with me, I'm a connector. I do a lot of stuff in the STEM space, whether that's more on the corporate side or academic side, nonprofit side. And so when I'm meeting someone and I start talking about something, I'm like, oh, you know, this person, this is a person that I know this is a person you need to be connected with. And the more people you talk to, the more it helps. And even at work, because I'm someone that talks to people in different functions and different things, there'll be times that someone will start talking about something. I'm like, oh, have you talked to so-and-so? They're working on this project, they're doing this thing, or this person just went on vacation here and they might have some insights. So the key thing is us as humans, let's be more intentional on how we can help each other. Let's not look at networking as something that's just one-sided, helping ourselves. Be intentional on how you can help others as well. I tell you this, whether you're a student, a young professional, which is the majority of the audience, a seasoned professional, is that when you're even networking with someone maybe is seemingly at a lower level from you, there are things that they can teach you that you just never know. It might be as simple as a new technology thing. So semi-random thing, like I don't even know how popular it is, but I am a huge foodie. Love all things food. Always taking pictures of my food. Occasionally, I'll put them on my Instagram story. And apparently now it's becoming part of my personality. It may not be as much of my personality when this episode actually airs, but I have an intern for the summer at work and we really bonded over the food experience. And she shared about this Belly app, BELI, and I just gravitated towards it. And it's an opportunity, basically social media for your food, rate your food, add different things. But honestly, that was an opportunity for us to connect and network in a sense that it wasn't as intentional. It was just something that she had talked about it a couple different times. Someone had mentioned it before, but just really clicked. He's like, you know what? Maybe I should give this a shot. Like worst case, I don't like it. And I tried it. And then like within a week, I like rated 20 plus restaurants because you can go in the past and like share the different dates that you visit the restaurant. And fortunately, like the way my phone is set up that it shows you when you went there and actually shows you on the map where it was too. So some of the places I was like, oh, I don't remember the name. I was able to pull it up on the maps and was able to see it there. So that was another side note into just random things that come up. I am definitely someone that is a curious person. I've been told that. Like when I first started podcasting, I think it's helped in my podcasting because I just want to go deeper, ask questions, learn more about things. And Strengths Finder, which I have the book behind me, is one of my strengths is being a learner. I love to learn new things. I love to teach people as well. So I hope this episode was helpful in how to be an effective networker and why you should be an effective networker a little bit as well, because it's beneficial for you as well as the other person. So be intentional in what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish in your networking, whether you're trying to be more intentional in in-person networking or online networking, whatever it is, be intentional, reach out for help. Definitely reach out for me for coaching if you'd like, and you too can be incredible.
Be sure to rate and review this podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform. We'll see you here next time. And be incredible.